Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Movie Zone. I am Kieran Kyo, and I'm joined by John Shortall once again. Welcome to the show, John.
Cheers, Kieran.
We're going to discuss a few movies today. Well, one in particular, but we're going to discuss a lot of films as when we talk about a man who passed away yesterday, and he's a legend of the horror movie genre, and that's Wes Craven. So the film that we're going to talk about also is the movie Vacation, which is actually kind of a sequel slash reboot of the movies from the 1980s. But which do you want to discuss first, John?
Let's go with the vacation one first, Kieran.
Okay, that's
You've
fine.
seen that, haven't you? I haven't seen it.
I've seen that one, yeah. Very good film. I was a big fan of the 1980s movies. I thought they were a lot of fun with Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo, and of course the young the guy, the actor that played the young fella in that film back then was Michael C. Hall, wasn't it, or something like that? He was one of the famous Brat Pack, so it was a great.
Sounds familiar, Kieran. I think you're on the right track there.
Yeah.
Was Chevy Chase in this new one? I think he did.
Chevy Chase made well, he was in a few scenes near the end. I thought it was very funny. A few of the skits that he was involved in were very funny, like. But some of the one-liners in that film, Vacation, the new version, were very, very funny, and all kind of like most of the comedy was sexual innuendos, but that's expected with this type of film.
Yeah, I seen that in the adverts where Chris Hemsworth was in it, and he was walking about in his shorts, displaying his manhood.
Yeah, that was fun. And to see anybody that's a big fan of the superhero films, to see him go from them films to this type of a role is a big jump.
Yeah. And how was Ed Helms and Christina Applegate?
Could you maybe talk a bit louder there? Yeah, very low there, John.
I said, how was Ed Helms and Christina Applegate in the movie?
Very good. Yeah. I thought Christina Applegate was very stunning as usual, but very, very good in the role. She really played that motherly kind of figure as well as being the stunning wife as well. And she really done that to a T, and I think she's a great actress as well.
It looks a lot like a movie with Jennifer Aniston and Ed Helms came out a couple of years ago. I forget what it's called.
Where the Millers, was it?
Where the Millers, yeah. I was going to say we are the Marshalls. But
it's one that's on my to-do list to watch that. But
right, it looks very similar to that. No, actually, that wasn't Ed Helms. That was Jason Sudeikis. But yeah, it looks like a similar type of comedy.
I think he was actually involved in that as well, though. I think Ed Helms had a role in that as well.
Did Chevy Chase play the father of Ed Helms? Is that right?
Chevy Chase played the father, yeah, and he was like Ed Helms played the grown-up version of Anthony Michael Hall, which is actually his name. Just came to me there, but he played the grown-up version of him in the other movies,
Right. Okay.
And they continued it well. But one thing that they did do was they almost done the new one scene for scene from the first 1983 Vacation movie,
Right. And do you think they were trying to appeal to the older audience or a new one? Or
I think in a sense they were trying to appeal to the older audience, but they were putting in a lot of newer language in there.
Right. Okay. I mean? They're not exactly shown on TV a lot. Them Vacation movies.
They're not. No. They're maybe at Warner Brothers. Maybe it's some license to do with licensing or something, but they're not really on TV a lot.
I think a lot of the younger generation of people probably wouldn't have heard of them as well.
I always have a big thing for 80s movies, and I kind of Chevy Chase would be one of my favorites, and that's why I would. I remember that I got the National Lampoon's collection, Chevy Chase collection, and That's one of my big cherishes as far as my DVD collection.
I read that he's very difficult to work with. Chevy Chase. He's a bad
Okay.
reputation as being difficult on the set, and that's why his career sort of went downhill, or he sort of went off the scene. Probably the early to mid '90s. He wasn't in as many pictures as he'd been in the '80s, and
Hmm.
he didn't. I think he left SNL after, I can't remember, it was one episode or one season, or maybe it was one season, but he was part of the original SNL cast, but he fell out
75, 76 he was on.
after that. And then the show he's in more recently, Community. Have you heard of that?
I have. I heard it's very good.
Yeah, I think he also left that. That's a pretty popular comedy, but he fell out with the producers of that too. So
Really.
comment was, in a way, by this
Even at
writer.
his age now, like he's in his, as far as his entertaining and his the want for him maybe has kind of gone. He's about over the hill now, and even at that age, he's still demanding.
Yeah, he's almost 70. He looks totally different than he does in the vacation movies, and in Fletch,
Yeah.
you'd barely recognize him now. But
No, he's
still
age is
funny, but
I think.
he's not not getting as many roles as you would have thought. And I think the reason being, well, that's what people say in a way, is because of this difficult character that he has.
Right, and he is like he can play that kind of clumsy comedy type, like almost like a one of them, Three Stooges like comedy, humor in that. I think he's excellent at that. Like,
Yeah, well, he did the movie with Martin Short and what do you call him?
Steve Martin.
Neil Martin. Was that his name?
Steve Martin.
Steve Martin, sorry. Yeah, I don't know where I got Neil Martin, but Martin Short and Steve Martin. Yeah, he did the Three Amigos movie. If you remember, that was kind of like the Three Stooges as well.
That was classic stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, and the Christmas Vacation movie was quite good. But
it was. The European one wasn't as funny, and the Vegas
the last one was set in Las Vegas or something. If you remember that.
What was that?
I said the last one was set in Las Vegas.
Right. In 97, that was.
Yeah, so that was. That's not that long ago compared to the others. They were original 80s, but. So you'd recommend this film in a way, Vacation?
I'll tell you, that Vacation movie was definitely the best comedy I've seen this year. But then I don't really go to a lot of comedies in the cinema, but I think it was. I went to see that Get Hard with Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart, and I thought this was a lot better. A different type of comedy, I suppose.
Yeah. And you were looking forward to another Kevin Hart movie last time we spoke.
That's right.
Ice Cream as well.
Yeah. Along with The Rock. He's in a buddy cop movie.
Right. When's that coming out?
I think it's coming out at the end of the year, I would say. There's no word of it yet,
Okay.
But as far as the name of it goes, it's left me. But yeah, so Vacation I would definitely recommend, John. I think it's worth, you laugh out loud, put it that way.
Okay. Yeah, I might check it out when it's on DVD.
9.8.5 out of 10.
Really? Yeah. That good?
Yeah. But Chris Hemsworth, too much of him would kind of put me off,
Don't spoil it on us.
No. Okay, well, we're going to move on a bit now, I think, and talk a bit about... Actually, before we move on, we're going to try and get this trailer of the Vacation for you folks. See if this works.
to be a green tower alone on the sea. Did you know that when it snows, my eyes become alive and the light hits you sharp and you see. Go sleep, baby. I compare you to a kiss from a rose on the grave. I can't believe no one in this family wants to sing. Wally World? Here we go.
What the hell is that?
That's a 2015 Tartan Prancer. It's the Honda of Albania. Let's hit the road.
What kind of asshole would drive his family cross the country?
Audrey, Dad wanted us to be close, and that's all I want for my family. Family is the most important thing there is. Hi, folks. You must be the Fung family. Huh? I'm just messing you. Look at his face. It's like, Fungs? Huh?
Stop talking to me.
Sheila, do you like school this year?
It's okay. Oh, do you like school this year? That's seriously what you sound like. Just shut up.
You gotta go faster, Dad. Prancer doesn't go any faster.
Okay, well, maybe if I press this rapid side, I'll like give it a boost or something.
Yes.
What's happening?
All right, slow down.
I don't know.
Somebody blew their head off. Freeze! This trip's been a nightmare. You had a dream to take your family to Wally World. Never let that go. What kind of a family are you? We're the Griswolds, you piece of ass.
Wow, this is beautiful.
I say we call it Griswold Spring.
Why does it smell like rotten eggs?
That's a sulfur, buddy. Natural. We should jar this stuff. I don't think this is a hot spring.
It's kind of dark.
Are you crazy?
Everybody out of Griswold Spring! We're naked and covered in human waste.
Oh, come on, sweetheart. We don't know that it's human.
Looks like there's a few laughs in there.
Yeah.
What's
Let me
the
get back.
what's the story or the plot of this one, Kieran, apart from them going on a vacation?
Huh?
So what's the story or the plot to this apart from them going on a vacation?
Ready to get out of this. Sorry. The story is basically they're trying to have themselves a better family life, and their story is basically they're trying to make themselves have a better family life, basically, and have better holidays, and they decide it suggests going and recreating his vacation from 30 years earlier, I suppose, and that's the gist of it, really.
So there's a lot of nostalgia to it for him, and
Yeah.
and he's probably trying to convince the kids that it's going to be a lot of fun and they're unwilling. Is that it?
They hate each other, the two young fellas hate each other on it, and they're
Right,
like,
okay.
they've got he's the older guy is like a geek, and the younger boy is like one of these young kind of streetwise cool kids, when he's bullying his big brother kind of thing.
Okay.
So it really does hit a lot of modern stereotypes and stuff too, I suppose.
Yeah.
You want to talk a bit about this guy Wes Craven, who has died there yesterday? He died of, I believe it was brain cancer. He was 76.
Yeah. Came as a surprise to most people, I think, or most that are aware of him. I personally wasn't following his films of late or anything, so didn't know he was sick.
Same as that. I thought it would be fitting to touch on his career now whenever he's just passed away,
Yeah, I think he was recently working on a Scream television series.
Right.
So I don't know how far he got on in that, or if the project will still go forward, but he's most famous for the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and Scream franchise. I think he's directed all 4 of those, and he did at least the original Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger. So he's fairly...
And that they have amazing cult followings. We've got them fans have conventions for these great franchises, don't they?
Yeah, his name is synonymous with the horror genre, definitely. I'd say of the last 30 years, his name would be, and up in the top 3 or 4 directors or whatever, top 5 of horror filmmakers.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. His name comes to mind as one of the ones you think about when you think horror, isn't it?
looks like we have another caller here.
Hey, Baz.
Well, what's happening, Donald?
How's it going, Kieran?
Funny,
I was just browsing there and I stumbled across your conversation.
All right.
Yeah, the
So
more the
did
better.
you actually see us on the, or did John send you a link or what?
Yeah, John just sent me a link there on Facebook.
Yeah, we surprised for you, Kieran.
You never know who's gonna jump into the party, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is mad. I've never done this before.
First time Google Hangout, yeah.
Yeah, it's the first time. Yeah, you can hear me all right, eh?
Yeah.
Crystal clear, yeah.
Right, very good. Nice one. Cool.
We were just talking about Wes Craven. Donald, I don't know if you're familiar with him, the Scream director.
Yeah.
Died recently.
Yeah, he died there. Was it today or yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah. I know Kieran's not much of a horror fan. He gets nightmares. So.
Well, have you been watching? What films have you been watching lately? Don't know yourself.
Oh, what the hell have I been watching? I don't know. I haven't been watching enough films. Really, I haven't been to the cinema in a long time. I think the last big one I've seen was that the Mad Max, the Mad Max film there, Fury Road. I think it was. It was pretty good. It's a decent film.
Right.
Did you see that one?
What was Tom Hardy like as the character?
Yeah, he was good. He was badass actually. He was kind of had that sort of silent kind of mysterious hero thing, like where he didn't actually speak very much, But yeah, it was pretty good. And also, so was it Charlize Theron was the woman in it? She did a very good job. Yeah,
she
was
probably
kind
had
of
more screen time or more dialogue than Tom Hardy in that.
yeah. So yes, she was nearly probably almost more of a main character, like.
Yeah, strangely enough.
I don't know, just having a drink here.
That was voted the best film of the year recently, I think, by top international critics. Mad Max.
We just touched on Wes Craven there. Don't know, would you have any recollection of his career or his films?
Yeah, I do. I remember when Scream came out. I think when Scream came out, and I was in the community school, and yeah, that was like that was a huge film at the time. Like there was the whole Scream trilogy, wasn't there? So yeah, I remember that. That was like a cult classic, pretty much. And then obviously when I was a bit older, I looked back and saw some of the Nightmare films, Nightmare on Elm Street and them, and then there was about 5 or 6 sequels of them, and they probably one of those series that got like progressively worse with every new episode. Like
they definitely had about half a dozen of them, and they had Freddy versus Jason, and then they remade it a few years ago as well, and now they're
that's right, yeah.
Just in the last month, I think they announced another remake, and this time they're going to not do the makeup and prosthetics on Freddy, but his entirely damaged skin is all going to be CGI, which all the horror nerds online are disgusted about. But
I would say that would be alright since it's traditional to get the makeup, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, was gonna say, like, the whole Nightmare thing was really actually, if you think about it, it was like a really good storyline actually, the original idea of it and stuff. And even though like I do remember seeing Nightmare like when I was probably pretty old, I was probably about 18, so it wasn't like, the most terrifying thing after having seen after that amount of time, after all these like dated effects and stuff. But yeah, as an idea, actually, I actually think I remember being struck that it was like it's pretty creative, this whole being attacked in your dreams and stuff, and yeah, and obviously
it's
as
such a long-lasting franchise.
Yeah, and do you remember? I think it was the first, or it was one of the first occasions where you get to see Johnny Depp, isn't it?
I think that was his very first movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his first film, wasn't it? He was like young, like he was only obviously a teenager in it or something.
Definitely early 20s anyway. Yeah, speaking of dated effects, I remember seeing it many years ago. I don't remember the film particularly well from start to finish, but I do remember the very ending of it. They're at a house and they think they've finally escaped Freddy, so it's like a nice happy ending, and this person is driving off, and she looks out of the car window and looks back at the house, and the sister or the mother or something is standing there at the door, and Freddy Krueger punches through the glass in the door, grabs the female by the neck, and pulls her through this tiny hole in the door, which is like no bigger than the size of my head. But it was such a low budget film, and even though they're at a distance, you can see so clearly it's clearly a large doll that they've just pulled through the door, and it looked hilariously bad. There's no real hiding the fact that it just wasn't a person at all. But
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was the 80s for you, wasn't
yeah.
Flipping heck, I'm home alone here, boys.
What'd you say, Kieran?
I don't know why I'm doing freaking Wes Craven when I'm home alone.
Yeah, you'll be having nightmares tonight, Kieran.
Might go to bed at all, hey, in this case. Wait till it's bright. No, I'm only messing.
Yeah, the Scream movies weren't. I would say they weren't as, or intended to be as scary as the Nightmare on Elm Street ones, with slasher type movies, and they're sort of more geared towards the.
They're more gore, aren't they? The Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yeah,
Street
exactly.
slasher. Yeah.
I think there's a bit of
I've seen the
trivia.
first 3 of them, but not the 4th one. That came out 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
I think the 4th one was it? But yeah, some good stuff from Craven over the years. I think I'm going to have a look here. I think I have some of his IMDb around here somewhere, so I'll have a wee look.
I think there's a one interesting bit of trivia where you probably don't remember. It's a small scene in the I think it's the first Scream film,
Yeah.
where it's halfway through the film and one of the characters is alone in the classroom or something, and he hears a noise outside the room, and it's all the tense music, and he goes to investigate, and he opens the door, and the next thing he discovers there's it was just the janitor who was like cleaning up, but basically the janitor is dressed, the outfit he's wearing is the exact Freddy Krueger outfit, and it's a little bit of a callback to the old Wes Craven films. Yeah. So you look out for that if you ever watch Scream again. Watch out for the janitor who's dressed like Freddy Krueger.
Must do that. All right, actually. Yeah.
Do you remember Henry Winkler was the high school
Principal or something? Yeah.
Principal, yeah, and he didn't believe the kids what was going on or whatever. He ended up getting stabbed in his office. Remember? By Ghostface, I think. Around that scene as well, where the janitor was there.
Yeah, it might have been. Actually, yeah, I think that was the character. Yeah.
It's funny because I'm thinking of Henry Winkler being the school principal, and I'm thinking of your parents as well, Donal, in a similar scenario.
All right, jeez. Yeah. Nice thing to say. Thanks. I can imagine that.
Just imagine that happening in Cairn.
Henry Winkler, he was in a lot of stuff that you wouldn't expect him to be in when you think about his career as the Fonz and Happy Days, and then there was a lot of roles early in his career, and then he ended up being in a lot of fairly different type roles, didn't he?
I don't know. He's in a few of the Adam Sandler movies. I know that, but outside of that, I'm not sure.
Waterboy, I think he plays the coach. He almost transitioned from a bit of it, like obviously the Fonz being the coolest character on TV. He seemed to play this kind of like a loser character in all of it when he was, in his kind of whether he was.
He's a lot more goofy than the Fonz, isn't he?
Yeah, in like the Waterboy, and then kind of in Scream, and then also in that Arrested Development show as well. Where he plays this kind of mad lawyer guy, who's kind of a mess.
That's right.
He messes everything up.
He was in that.
It's a good way to get over being typecast, I guess, is just completely go the opposite direction, like to what you were.
Yeah.
It shows you can act as well, like you can get the roles.
Have you learned anything about Wes Craven there, Kieran? I think I read somewhere that he started out as a pornography director. Did they mention that?
Papers haven't went into that.
Yeah, so
Swamp Thing comes up here, 1982 film. The Hills of Eyes, he wrote that one. Hills of Eyes 2, of course, he done. His first one was The Last House on the Left.
Oh.
In 1972. He done The People Under the Stairs, which was a fairly cult following, 1991. Night Visions, 1990. Vampire in Brooklyn, you know, the Eddie Murphy one. So he ventured into comedy as well, like that was 95. You know.
I guess there was always a bit of there's always a bit of a comedy kind of going through all his films, like, you know, a bit of a, you know, even the horror ones, they always had a bit of a wee laugh in it, like, or a bit of a joke or something, like, you know, or a kind of hidden joke, you know. I didn't realize he did the Hills of Eyes, actually. I remember seeing that.
I think he done the early stuff. They were the early versions. Maybe he didn't do the
I remember that was actually a pretty creepy film. I remember that, the Hills of Eyes. That's where they're out in the middle of the desert or something, and it's all the mental hillbillies, isn't it? Or the sort of they're all cannibals, or, you know, an inbreeding family or something. It's like, actually I remember kind of watching that and being kind of creeped out there. You know.
Has John disappeared there, don't he?
John, where'd you go? John? I think he has.
Jeepers. He need to come back to this now in a minute. I would say to come back to this at least. Something happened. They must there must have been a problem with his connection, you know.
Dropped out. That was funny because I just completely stumbled across this, because I saw you had just put up a new video there, and I was just having a look at your channel, and then I'm seeing this live thing come on, and then I messaged John on Facebook, and I was like, what the hell is this? Like, you know, and then he was like, oh, you should join us. So he sent me the link, and I was like, oh, join through the crack.
When you go onto my channel, is it on live, is it?
And like, if I go onto your YouTube channel, I think it is. I think that's kind of how I.
All right. I didn't realize the show is actually live on the channel when you go to it. I thought you had to look for it.
I'll just test. If I turn this on, I'll probably be able to, like, get a wild load of feedback or something. So.
No worries anyway. But hopefully.
Yeah, because if you click on it, it says live now.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's a picture of John there, actually. Yeah.
Hopefully he comes back, because it's kind of annoying once that happened. That happened to me a couple of times, you know.
Where somebody just drops out all of a sudden.
Oh, when I dropped out, I had to come back in.
You're just
a couple of times.
It's just John sitting on his own, is it?
Join the video. Good man, John.
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry about that. Connectivity issues.
We were wondering, you went missing in action there, man.
It's a good thing you have Donald here to back you up.
Exactly. Yeah. Good man, Donald.
Yeah.
I got to read a little bit of Wes Craven trivia while I was waiting on the internet to get back going again there. He said on IMDb, Freddy Krueger's appearance, the dirty clothes and hat, was inspired by a hobo who Craven saw staring at him through his window one day when he was 10 years old.
Whoa.
That's interesting.
That does sound curious.
Yeah.
Just want to leave that topic for a few seconds, and ask Donald there, have you been doing much radio work lately?
On the internet going again there. He said.
Sorry, I stuck on the live on the YouTube while
there must be repeating there, is it?
I was wondering where that echo came from.
Yeah. No, that was fine. I just wanted to see what would happen. if I press play on the live show while I was yeah.
Just don't do that, or don't Google either.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Google was a part of it.
I was told the world blows up if you Google Yahoo. So maybe that's just people playing with me. You know?
Is it's like calling Bloody Mary or something. Sorry, you were asking about the radio, was it?
Aye, you do much radio work? Because I know I worked with you on ICR and a wee bit on the show on live as well, remember?
Yeah, of course. Not actually too much at the minute. I mean, I'm kind of down in Dublin most of the time these days. I've not done anything down here, but actually I saw some work kind of advertised there recently. Actually, they got they're looking for a broadcast news person in 98 FM and Spin 103.8, I think. The job I don't know. Might stick in a wee application for that. Like, you know, they might like an old Donegal voice, you know, to read the news to all the dubs, you know.
At least the people don't understand you.
Hopefully, yeah. That's hopefully maybe they won't, like, you know, they'll be ringing and complaining, saying, you know, who the f is this bloody Doherty? Yeah.
John enjoyed his time with us on the show on live, I think, didn't you, John?
I did, yeah. I was a special guest star for several weeks.
Yeah.
You carried the show, John.
Oh, thanks, Kieran.
Yeah. But as far as Wes Craven, would any of the films, which would be your favourite if you had to pick a favourite of his films? Both of you?
Don't know. Probably one of the Screams. Like, I'm not a huge fan of his. I know he's a decent director, but not someone I've followed very closely. He didn't make a lot of films in the last 10 or 15 years. There was one came out in 2005 called Red Eye, I think, with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams. And that was one that caught my attention at the time. I never got around to watching it, so looks fairly decent. So I'm struggling to think of a lot of other stuff he's done, because I think he just hasn't done a lot of stuff outside of the Scream movies. I probably would watch Scream 4, that came out just a few years ago with a fairly well-known cast. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably the original Nightmare on Elm Street or the original Scream, I would say, would be his two most entertaining ones.
Yeah, I'd probably go for the Nightmare on Elm Street actually myself, just because I did always used to think that it was a really kind of original idea, like, you know, of the whole, you know, a killer going after you while you sleep and all, you know, in your dreams, and kind of, because it's something, you know, everybody has nightmares, so it's like, you know, it is something that kind of, I was like, yeah, it's actually quite a good idea, like, even though it might be a bit dated now, it wouldn't necessarily be the scariest thing you'd see compared to, you know, some other stuff.
Scares Kieran, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good idea if you want to die, yeah.
Yeah.
Think about how many times we've seen Freddy Krueger Halloween costumes and stuff in the shots, though. And the claw and the face and everything. Then the Scream mask, ghost face as well.
Like a rugby player with knives and everything coming out of him, because he's got that rugby top on all the time, you know, the stripes across.
Yeah, the Dennis the Menace top.
Dennis the Menace gone scary.
Maybe he's Dennis the Menace when he grew up. That's what it became. He grew up to become Freddy Krueger.
Never know. Never know in this world. Hey.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Another question for you, Donald, and for you too, John. I've been doing a couple of videos there. I've done one video on Donald Trump there today, and I've become very interested now in the the early stages of the American presidential elections. I just like the way he's shaking things up. He's controversial. I don't agree with a lot of the stuff he's saying, but I do like the whole shake-up idea. You know, what's your opinions, Donald?
Well, I would say, like, obviously I would tend to be more of a fan of, like, the probably the Democrat Party than the Republican Party generally in America. I'd say I wouldn't usually agree with, like, so I'd be probably more likely to. I'd be interested in the guy Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you heard of him.
I've
He's
heard a
he's
lot of stuff about him too, and he also speaks his mind a lot.
Yeah, he's running on the obviously he's running against like Hillary on the Democrats, so I'm actually kind of rooting for him. The thing about Donald Trump, I mean, I won't like I'd say there, in terms of the lineup of the Republican Party, like who's all running there, I don't think there's many great ones there. I mean, there's nobody really who would appeal to me. But the one good thing I would say about Donald Trump is just the fact that uh, it's like the Republicans are notorious for relying on big money to fund them. Like, the big wealthiest companies, need to fund each candidate's campaign, and then once he gets elected, he's kind of indebted to the company and sort of works for them, like George Bush sort of did for the oil companies in Texas. Like, but I guess the fact that Donald is his own millionaire, like he's just funding himself. So I
Yeah.
guess he won't be indebted to people if he gets elected. He won't be like necessarily working for the people who funded his campaign. Um, Although at the same time, I wouldn't actually really agree with much of what he says, like about immigrants and stuff, and also just he's just comes from that kind of like right wing, as like you know there's been plenty of like wealthy businessmen who've been like kind of presidents and stuff, and like prime ministers in England, but there's not been so many like social activists and stuff from the other side. So I don't know. I'd probably be more interested maybe in like the likes of Bernie Sanders or something like.
Jesse Ventura, Jesse Ventura. He used to be the governor of Minnesota, and he was former
Mm,
wrestler and Navy SEAL and actor and that.
yeah.
Well, he has said that he would have loved to have ran, but he's not into any party. Like, he's very independent, doesn't like any of the whole normal way of going. He's very against the grain. But he says that he would love to be Trump's running buddy.
Mm,
That'd be interesting because he's
yeah,
very.
that would be an interesting pair. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like who could you even who could you even put alongside Trump that like Trump wouldn't completely overshadow anybody
Yeah.
who you're on with? Like, he'd steal the spotlight totally. Like, so it would be tough to be running alongside him. But yeah, I kind of I like the fact that even just being an independent, that's another side of it. Like, it seems like the America is just very much a two-horse race. Like, if you're not Republican or Democrat, you don't even get a look in. It's not like other countries in Europe where there's like loads of different parties and people have loads of choice. In America, it's just you have two choices. And if you don't like it, that's too tough, too bad. So it's
We'll
kind of good
throw that question out to John here. What do you reckon? Any interest whatsoever in politics, John?
Well, I think what Donald's saying is interesting that he's an independent party, but he could hardly be any more Republican anyway. So
Mm.
I know why you like him, Kieran, because he is exactly like a WWE character.
I
The way he
do love
portrays
that.
himself,
Love
and
that. And he's been involved in WWE as well. Like,
he's
so.
he's a good showman.
And I think a lot of it, how they were talking about it, made a lot of racial remarks about Mexicans and all that type of stuff. But I think it's all about the showmanship as well. And I think a lot of the stuff that comes out of his mouth is all about the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mm.
he's definitely a good businessman, and he knows how to promote himself well. How good he would do as the leader of the free world, though, is another question entirely.
Uh,
I'm not sure we all want to know the answer to, but
yeah, yeah. Okay, I want to segue into something else now, and something that we didn't really say we were going to talk about, but it's a wee bonus for all the listeners out there. If we have any at all later when it goes up as a recorded video, we'll probably get a good few listeners. But anyway, or watchers. Political films. Any political films spring to mind now that we're on that topic?
Mm.
One that I really like, I just want to point out, is Primary Colors. Have you ever seen it?
No, is that the one? Is that the one with the Zach Galifianakis and or am I thinking of something totally different?
you're
Where
thinking of a comedy where him and Will Ferrell are two senators or something, or
is that the one? Is that I haven't. I think I remember seeing the
Primary
trailer.
Colors is actually the one with John Travolta playing the role of Well, he's really played the role of Clinton, but it's like different names.
Right, yeah, I've seen that many years ago. That was a late 90s movie, but I
I
can't
love
remember
that
much
film.
about it.
Oh right, sorry, I was thinking of a totally different film.
You're thinking of a comedy, yeah. I don't know if I have a favorite political movie. If I looked at a list, I'm sure I could pick a few out, but
Uh,
off the top of my head, I don't know. House of Cards is a very popular TV show lately, and it's one I've been meaning to get into because people rant and rave
yeah, I've
about it.
been meaning to get into that too, actually.
Yeah, you're a big fan of The West Wing, aren't you, Kieran?
I love The West Wing. Yeah, I've always liked The West Wing, and I like it because I think Martin Sheen's he's very kind of addictive to listen to the way he delivers lines and stuff. I think there's something about Sheen just he's really really likable, and then the whole cast are great in that too. Like,
Yeah. Um, so no, I don't have a favorite political movie off the top of my head. Maybe I don't know if you could call it political, but the Clint Eastwood one in The Line of Fire, where he has to save the president from John Malkovich.
that was very 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 good, that film.
Yeah,
A 1994 film, wasn't there? 93.
93. Yeah.
Mm. You remember that one, Donald?
Yeah, no, I don't think. I'm just trying to think of a good political film. I don't know if uh, possibly I mean, like what you mentioned about TV shows earlier. I think a very good political TV show, even though it's kind of a comedy, is that one, The Thick of It. I don't know if you've seen that. It was only a couple of series of that, but it's actually a British BBC show, like which
Yeah,
is very good. You know.
Gandolfini was in the movie, wasn't he? What did they call the movie?
Oh, that was uh,
I
wait a
watched a
second.
few clips of it online. It's
In the loop,
really
in the
funny
loop.
banter between the guy who plays Doctor Who and Gandolfini.
Oh God, yeah, I know it's brilliant. Yeah, as the like American general, like yeah. I just I love, uh, political films. Yeah, there's actually that film Election, right? I don't know if you could count that one, which is about a student election where Reese Witherspoon is like running to be like student president. Yeah, no, this is stretching the term political a bit, but it's
Yeah,
actually a
I've
brilliant
seen
film.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick is like the teacher who tries to like sabotage her, and then I think it's something basically one of the guys, one of the kind of jock guys from American Pie. He's the guy who's like running against her. It's actually a really really funny film, and it's kind of like it's quite
I
like
got that actually. Yeah, it's entertaining. All right, it's very funny.
yeah, good film. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Don't know,
in the
hard to
Loop,
think.
that was the movie. In the Loop, the film version of in the Thick of It or The Thick of It.
All right.
Yeah.
I actually have a list of political films here now. Maybe I'll name a few and you can chat about whatever ones that you know about, or you know. The American President, starring Annette Bening and uh, names, starring Annette Bening and damn it, what? I'm trying to think of the name here. How could I
It's
forget?
Bill Pullman.
Michael Douglas. Jeez.
Oh, Michael Douglas. Wait a minute, I was thinking of Independence Day there. I haven't seen that one actually.
It's more of a kind of romantic slash,
Awesome.
That kind of a like it's kind of like the first lady and the president kind of thing,
hmm Actually, there was the one Milk
All
uh,
right.
with Sean Penn. I don't know if you saw that one, but it's about Harvey. It's like a true story about Harvey Milk, who was like the first ever like gay politician in America from like San Francisco, and then he was like assassinated. So it's actually quite a story. It's like back in the 70s and stuff, and Sean Penn's in it. He's quite good because especially I don't know because it's kind of quite a different role from his typical kind of like really tough guy sort of roles. Like it's quite a bit of a departure from that, like. But no, that was quite a good one actually. I remember seeing that on Sky I think one time.
Cool. Sean Penn's a great actor.
Mm.
Yeah, very entertaining. So many great political films over the years, like All the President's Men is another one, and Bobby, that one Emilio Estevez directed back in 2006 about Bobby Kennedy and about the people surrounding Bobby Kennedy when he was assassinated.
Right.
Yeah,
I
it was
think
Oliver Stone
I
movie as well. JFK came out in '91. It's supposed to be very good. Yeah, to
yeah,
see
that's the Oliver Stone one. Is actually it's decent one. Like sort of just around this whole assassination and stuff and the investigation into it and all the different angles of it and the shitty kind of characters and assassinations and that stuff like of the witnesses. So yeah, that's definitely a good one. Um,
There
but
was one came out in I think '97 or something like that. Another Clint Eastwood one called Absolute Power, and Gene Hackman played the president in that. Clint Eastwood was this retiring jewel thief or jewel in art, I think, and I think he broke into the White House, if you can imagine that being believable, and he caught Gene Hackman, who had this prostitute in there, and things got a little rough when they were in the bedroom. He ended up killing her after she struck back at him in self-defense. So he witnessed this murder, somehow escaped, and then the rest of the film was about
That's wild altogether.
Gene Hackman trying to track him down.
so Gene Hackman was like a dodgy president then?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Actually, I just I'm cheating as well. I'm going through the list, but one I hadn't thought of actually, Invictus with
Oh yeah. With
was it Morgan Freeman as Nelson Mandela
yeah.
and about the whole Rugby World Cup.
The background of the Rugby World Cup, yeah.
Yeah, the '95. I actually remember watching that World Cup. Funny enough, it's weird to actually kind of remember something happening. To see an actual film about something that you actually witnessed it on TV.
Yeah, cool to see that from that perspective, alright.
Yeah, so that was quite a good one, obviously, and Matt Damon playing a rugby player was kind of, considering he's like such a wee guy.
Brilliant, isn't it?
It was an interesting one as well, but no, I think that was just everything about that film was just really it was just an interesting take on it,
That was also directed by Clint Eastwood. He's clearly interested in
That's it.
political movies, and you could call
I had
American
forgotten.
Sniper political as well.
Mm.
What'd you
He's
say?
directed some great films when you think about it.
Yeah, he has. Yeah. He's directed a lot more than he started in the last 20 years.
Mm. He's in his 80s too, isn't he? He's well on, like.
Yeah.
Which is, it's amazing that he can have the wherewithal to direct a great film,
Yeah, I'd like to see you in your 80s, Kieran, another 60 years directing projects around there.
Wishful thinking, me in my 80s, but sure, we'll see what happens.
Maybe you'll give me into a role.
Yeah, well,
I'm always staring in them when I'm 80s. You never know. You have to think positive, dudes,
yeah. That's it. Hopefully we'll all be a bit, But
Schwarzenegger, boys. What about Schwarzenegger these days? What do you think? How's he doing with that? Any more big films coming out, John? You're usually the expert on Schwarzenegger.
I think he's supposed to create another version of the Conan movies, King Conan or something.
Ah.
Following on directly from the last one came out whenever 87 or something. But not a lot of future projects on the cards around. There could be another couple of Terminators because although the Terminator Genesis didn't do very well in America, it only made back $19 million out of its $150 million budget, which was pretty bad flop for the US. It's doing remarkably well overseas. And in China in particular, it was released there last week. It was the fourth biggest Chinese box office opening ever. And it's gone on now it'll probably be Schwarzenegger's second top grossing movie of all time after Terminator 2. So it looks like they will make another couple, whereas it was in doubt there for a while because it didn't perform well in the US, and it didn't do great critically either. So,
Mm.
did you
Yeah,
get around to seeing that,
I'd
Kieran or
almost,
Donald?
I'd almost
I
forgotten
think
that was
it's
actually out this year.
I
I didn't
don't see
even
it in
go and see
cinema,
it.
but I've seen it. But I thought it was very good. I was impressed with it, but at the same time, I didn't think it was as maybe as good as it should have been. I don't know.
Yeah,
Mixed
yeah,
opinions.
definitely.
Did you see it though?
No, I didn't actually. Come to think of it, I'd almost forgotten about it. I'd forgotten it was out. But no, I remember seeing the ads for it and some of the hype around it. But then, yeah, obviously it came out and apparently it didn't do great, and I didn't hear much more from it after that. Like, so mustn't have been as successful as they were hoping.
Yeah, people
But
blame the fact that they had so many spoilers in the trailers and stuff, but I mean that wasn't the only issue with it. But
yeah, what was the story of it then in regards to, how you had one, two, three, and then Terminator Salvation? Does this come after Salvation or before Salvation, or what way does that?
this comes before any of them actually. It starts off in 1984. Well, it starts off around the same time as the original Terminator, just ever so slightly before that. It picks up and you
Right.
see Sarah Connor being raised by the T-800, who was sent back to 1974, and he rescued Sarah from T-1000, and was also sent back then, who killed her parents. So he's been bringing her up.
Yeah.
Whenever Kyle Reese arrives in 1984, he meets Sarah totally different than the one he was expecting.
Okay.
She's kind of like the character from Terminator 2, that's Sarah,
Mm.
because she's like battle hardened or whatever.
It's a complicated story, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean they've had to take a lot of liberties with timeline, and they've mixed it up.
It's almost
Quite a bit.
multi-dimensional, isn't it? No way.
Yeah, definitely it is. I mean it was. I mean it's time travel, so there's a lot you can say that you can do with it. So it's like Back to the Future 2 in a way. If you remember, Marty McFly went back to the 1950s or something, and he went back to the 80s, and he jumped forward in time. These ripples in time, or the butterfly fly effect.
Yeah.
It allows them to take a
Mm.
lot of new directions with the films if it's.
Yeah, it gives a lot of freedom to kind of just whatever the hell you want
Yeah.
the new story to be.
They can basically explain any new plot angle with a sentence or a few sentences and say, oh well, this happened, now everything's different, and
Yeah.
people just roll with it typically.
And everybody looks different, and there's all different actors.
Well, Arnie doesn't look different. I mean, he looks really old, but
Yeah.
they did a great job on creating a CGI version of him from 1984, and then they also sort of de-aged him with makeup.
Yeah.
And sort of took a few of the wrinkles out. So and when he's battling himself, so that was one of the main draws of the film in the marketing, was that this entirely computerized version of Schwarzenegger from 1984, and they did a fantastic job on it, because those CGI people usually look shit.
Yeah.
One of the worst examples ever is The Rock from The Scorpion King, came out
Yes.
in 2002.
Yeah.
Where,
Not bad, yeah.
yeah, his head on what looks like a big giant lobster is supposed to be a scorpion. And it just looks like graphics from a PlayStation 2 game,
Yeah. I do actually remember that as well. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so bad they should have never really allowed it to be put on the screen, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Then in the movie, the standalone movie, Scorpion, and he was just a normal man, wasn't he?
that's right. Yeah, I didn't watch the standalone movie entirely, so I don't know what the story to it was. I think it came before the Mummy in a way. But speaking of,
Yeah, he's becoming like the new Schwarzenegger now in Hollywood, isn't he? Really?
he is, yeah, he's picking a lot better roles recently than he was 5 or 6 years ago when he was doing Tooth Fairy movies and whatnot. But yeah, speaking of the CGI effects and de-aging, if anyone has seen Ant-Man, they'll know what I'm talking about. At the beginning of that, there's a scene from 1989, and they have Michael Douglas playing himself, but they've entirely de-aged him with computer effects, and they did a really amazing job in that. You've seen other films where they've de-aged characters,
Yeah.
but they always had this fake sort of almost like a plastic surgery appearance, you know, a stretched skin, shiny face,
Yeah.
something a bit off or a bit odd looking about them. And this, of course, it wasn't entirely 100% realistic, but it was nearly like they just pulled a scene out of an old Michael Douglas movie and put
Which
that
film was that again?
into Ant-Man. Ant-Man, the new Paul Rudd one.
Right. Okay. Right. I hadn't. Yeah. Heard it.
But yeah, they did a really surprisingly good job on that.
Very good.
So,
Ant-Man was actually an excellent film. I seen it a couple of weeks ago. Man, very impressed with.
yeah, I thought it was quite good too.
Moving on now. Actually, I was going to ask John actually about Stallone. What's Stallone at next? Or have you heard much about him lately?
No, I've not heard a whole lot, Kieran. I think last thing I seen him in was Expendables 3, and that was crap, to be honest. Not the second Expendables was fairly decent. Like, first one was okay, second one improved on it, third was just rubbish. But it might have done well enough. I think it done worse than the first two, but it might have done well enough that he'll scrape together the cast again for a fourth. But no,
I heard they're doing a fourth and fifth.
he'll soon be in his 80s if they go that far. No, I know one film he's going to be in, and I've watched the trailer for it, and it looks quite decent, just purely based on the trailer.
Creed.
It's called Creed, yeah. Or Michael B. Jordan, I hope that's his name, and I'm not just putting a B in the middle of Michael Jordan because he's a black actor, but he plays Apollo Creed's son, and he plays Creed's son, and Rocky trains him, takes him on sort of as his mentor. And just based on the trailer, I don't know what the story to it is. He's obviously a young boxer, and he's up and coming. Rocky trains him, so that looks good enough. But we'll have to wait and see. Other than that, I think he might be trying to make one last Rambo film. I mean, the last one came out 2008. He was already 60 years old at that stage, but he looked incredible because he was all on steroids and he had hair extensions in and everything. But
it's not the time he got done for. He was taking steroids.
Yeah, in Australia, yeah, they caught him with human growth hormone or something.
Yeah.
He was really juicing at that stage. If you'd seen him in Rambo, he was bigger than ever. But it worked for the character, like.
I wonder, getting heart problems and stuff, because like any wrestlers that have done that in the past always end up getting heart attacks in their 40s or 50s, like.
Right, but I think as we said about what's his name, Roddy Piper, they were doing a lot of recreational drugs as well.
That's true.
Which Stallone may or may not have been doing. I don't know. If he's just sticking to the.
It was the 80s, so like, it was well known for that type of thing, wasn't it, in the 80s?
Yeah. I could see you being in that kind of lifestyle, Kieran, if you ever got into the WWE.
You're mad. No way, I'd get caught. That's I would never get away with stuff like that.
I wouldn't stop you though, Kieran.
Any other crack these boys?
Well, I don't know if you heard there was a bit of bad news there today. I think it'd be an old wrestler now, but I just thought it was interesting. I noticed Jimmy the Superfly Snuka.
Yeah.
You heard of that one? Yeah, apparently he's just been arrested for murdering his girlfriend.
Gee.
1983.
What?
It was in 1983.
His girlfriend died in '83, but he was just arrested, was he?
There has been an ongoing court case with Jimmy Snuka and the people of the federal court or whatever, and the girl was Nancy Argentino, you called her, and she was staying in a hotel or a motel with Snuka when he was on the road wrestling, and they had an argument or something, and he supposedly manslaughter type situation, and she got killed, and he's been up on trial for years and years, and they say it's finally coming to an end now, and he's going to be done for it.
Right, gee, I didn't realize that at all. I mean, I do remember even seeing old videos of him, like, and stuff, and he was one of the first ever like high flying wrestlers. But it seems like, it's kind of a case like a lot of those, maybe just another wrestler who kind of went mad on steroids again. I don't know, and sort of lost the head a bit like on it. But yeah, it's like it was just another thing that I was just kind of I just read it today there, and I was like, wow, it's like it's so common that there's all these tragic stories around these wrestlers and stuff, like, I
was just chatting to a couple of my wrestling friends earlier today, and we were saying, like, it really is a terrible time. Not a terrible time. Like, we're not really annoyed or anything, but it's, to be a wrestling fan, it's a mad time, because you've got 2 or 3 of the greatest legends dying lately, and then you've got the Hogan situation, you've got Snuka situation, and it's weird, like.
Yeah, it just seems like such a crazy industry, like, to be a part of, like, there's just so many mental, personalities and stuff and stories behind it all, like,
They weren't treated very well by the WWE back in the day. They weren't treated; they were worked to the bone,
Yeah. Sure. And I read Bret Hart's autobiography there a couple of years ago, and it sounds like a crazy lifestyle, like, the way they were all getting on, like, they were like obviously doing the ridiculous kind of physical stress of like wrestling, but then they were staying up all night drinking and taking drugs and stuff as well, like, and then traveling all day long in a bus and then doing the same thing again that night, like, and it's
remember Owen Hart's death as well, when he fell from the ceiling when they were doing the mad entrance, and the rope snapped.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I remember when it happened. Like, obviously I wasn't watching at the time, but yeah, I do remember pretty well. Like,
that was pretty tragic at the time,
You remember when Undertaker threw Mankind off the top of the Hell in the Cell as well? I think Taker said he thought he killed him after that.
That's right. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that Mick Foley was one of the few people who kind of like could actually defy death, like, no matter what he threw at him. Like,
Mick Foley was playing in what's the name of the place? You might have been there, don't know, you might have heard of it. It's in Botanic Avenue in Belfast.
All right.
Empire Comedy Club. I used to live around the corner from Empire Comedy Club, and Mick Foley was doing a performance there. I think a comedy performance. I'm sorry I missed it, because I think you could have just walked in for £5 or £6 and seen him play there. But they did occasionally get big names in like that.
Yeah, I had no idea he did comedy as well.
Yeah, it's some kind of roadshow. It wasn't
everyday kind of character. He thinks about, like, he just dresses like anybody, and he's probably worse than anybody when you think about it. And he's such a kind of normal fella. He would do that type of stuff in small clubs, and what I mean. He doesn't, because he's entertaining his fans, like.
Yeah, and I looked at his Facebook page 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, and you could see him replying to all the fans on the page as well. You were talking about some directors and some actors do that, Kieran, where they manage it themselves rather than through an agency.
Well, I know that in Hulk Hogan's situation there, he got a lot of stick from the authorities and from the people in the wrestling industry and all, because he was manning his own Twitter page even after the whole incident with the racism, and he got a lot of stick for that, like, because.
Yeah, he was judged by a lot of Twitter users who were creating fake images for a laugh and stuff, and he was sharing them then, not knowing
what he was really sharing. Global type follow, you see.
Yeah.
And then sure, the likes of James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy. He does a lot of retweeting and does a lot of answering back on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah, you've been in contact with a few wrestlers, haven't you, Kieran?
I have, yeah. I was chatting to Mari Janetti a lot on Facebook. I'd be a friend of us on Facebook, and the way you know that it's their real accounts is that they actually have personal photos up and the personal, they're very personal with their information they put out and all,
Right. Well, it's pretty cool. I remember having an old plastic Marty Jannetty toy when I was a kid. Yeah, it's weird that you're like actually friends with him.
He was one of the lesser known rocker, and from Shawn Michaels, like.
Yeah, him and I remember had their tag team. What were they called again? The Rockers, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Shawn Michaels. I had him and them two in the tag team. Like, yeah, I remember that. Had the two toys.
Back in the good old days.
That's it. Yeah.
Nothing else really mattered, But anyway, boys, it's been great having you on the show and the movie zone, and hope you join us again, Donald, sometime.
Sure. Yeah, hopefully maybe I'll stumble across these again and make a surprise appearance.
But he's ready to kind of put the head down for the night, or he's want to stay on another wee while, or what do you want to do?
I was gonna say my roommate, he's pretty asleep right now. He used to get up at 6 in the morning. He's next door, so I'd probably my chat and be keeping him up all night. So I better depart and keep my mouth shut for a while.
What about you, John?
Yeah, I think I'll call it quits too, here.
You're after a long day's work as well, so.
Yeah.
Well, folks, great to have you on board, and we'll keep in touch over Facebook for future shows. And great to chat to you all folks out there in the big bad world. And the Kyoster for John Shortall and Domnail Doherty. Kyoster over! I'm out.